The transport ship shook as it entered the docking bay of Orbital Station Helix 9. Park Jin-ho pressed his face against the small window and watched the massive structure grow larger. The Galactic Military Academy was built into an asteroid the size of a small moon. Thousands of lights blinked across its surface. Ships moved in and out like insects around a hive. Jin-ho was 22 years old. He had black hair cut short in military style. His body was lean and hard from years of training. On Earth, he had been the best. He had won every competition. He had broken every record. The military had chosen him from millions of candidates to be the first human at the academy. Now, looking at the alien station, he felt very small. The ship landed with a soft bump. The door opened, and Jin-ho stepped out into a massive hangar. The ceiling was so high he could barely see it. Hundreds of beings moved around him, and none of them were human. He saw his first Volrani up close. They were giants, standing nearly 3 meters tall. Their skin was gray and thick like stone. Their eyes were small and red. One of them walked past Jin-ho and looked down at him the way a man might look at an insect. The Kethni were different. They were slim and fast, with 4 arms and skin that changed color. They moved through the crowd like water, never bumping into anyone. Their eyes were large and golden. The Mordai scared him the most. They looked almost human, but their skin was pale blue and their heads were slightly too large. They were the smartest species in the galaxy. They could calculate complex problems in seconds. When one of them looked at Jin-ho, he felt like his entire mind was being read. A voice called his name. Jin-ho turned and saw a woman in a human military uniform. She was Korean like him, with her hair tied back in a tight bun. Her name tag said Lieutenant Han Yuna. "Cadet Park," she said, walking toward him. "Welcome to Helix 9. I am your liaison officer. I will help you during your first weeks here." "Thank you, Lieutenant," Jin-ho said. He was glad to see another human face. Yuna did not smile. Her eyes moved around the hangar, watching the aliens who watched them. "Walk with me," she said quietly. "Do not react to anything you see or hear." They walked through long corridors made of dark metal. Aliens passed them constantly. Some ignored Jin-ho completely. Others stared at him with open curiosity. A few looked at him with something that might have been hatred. "You need to understand something," Yuna said as they walked. "The Galactic Council did not want you here. Earth has only been part of the galaxy for 12 years. We are new. We are weak. We are what they call a Category 7 species." "What does that mean?" Jin-ho asked. "It means they think we are barely intelligent. It means they believe we will go extinct within a few thousand years. It means they see us as animals who learn to talk." Jin-ho felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his face calm. "Then why am I here?" "Politics," Yuna said. "Earth demanded a seat at the Academy. The Council could not refuse without causing a diplomatic problem. So they gave us one seat. One single seat out of 10,000. She stopped walking and turned to face him. "They expect you to fail, Cadet. They want you to fail. Some of them will try to make you fail. Do you understand?" "I understand," Jin-ho said. "No," Yuna said. "You do not. Not yet. But you will." She was right. Jin-ho's room was small and cold. His roommate was a Volrani named Gorth. The giant alien looked at Jin-ho once when he entered, then turned away and never looked at him again. He acted like Jin-ho did not exist. When Jin-ho spoke to him, Gorth did not answer. When Jin-ho slept, Gorth made loud noises all night. Classes were worse. The instructors taught in Galactic Standard, a language Jin-ho had studied for 2 years. But they spoke fast and never repeated themselves. When Jin-ho asked questions, they acted annoyed. When he gave correct answers, they found reasons to mark him wrong. In physical training, He was put against opponents twice his size. He lost every fight in the first week. His body was covered in bruises. The medical staff healed him quickly, but the pain remained. The other cadets avoided him. When he sat at a table in the eating hall, everyone else moved away. When he tried to join study groups, they told him the groups were full. He heard them laughing when they thought he could not hear. Earther, they called him. Sometimes they called him worse things: animal, primitive, mistake. But Jinho did not break. He woke up early every morning and trained alone. He studied late into the night. He watched the other cadets and learned their techniques. When he lost a fight, he analyzed what went wrong. When an instructor treated him unfairly, he worked harder to make his next performance impossible to ignore. Slowly, things began to change. In his third week, Jinho won his first fight. His opponent was a Kethani who was faster than him. But Jinho had watched this Kethani fight 5 times. He knew every move the alien would make before he made it. He waited for the right moment, then struck. The Kethani fell. The training room went silent. No one had expected the human to win. The instructor marked it as a technical error and did not count the victory. But Jinho did not care. He knew the truth. The other cadets knew it too. 2 days later, Jinho finished first in a tactical simulation. The instructors could not explain it away this time. His score was too high. His solutions were too creative. He had beaten cadets who had trained their whole lives. That night, Lieutenant Yuna visited his room. Her face was serious. "You are making them angry," she said. "Good," Jinho replied. "No, not good." She handed him a small device. "This arrived for you tonight. Anonymous message." Jinho read the words on the screen. They were simple and clear. "Training Hall 7, midnight. Come alone." "It is a trap," Yuna said. "You know this." "Yes, you cannot go." Jinho looked at her. In his eyes, she saw something that surprised her. It was not fear. It was not anger. It was certainty. "I have been waiting for this," he said quietly. "They think they are hunting me. They do not understand. They are giving me exactly what I want. What do you want?" Jinho smiled. It was not a happy smile. A chance to show them what a human can do. At midnight, Park Jinho walked into Training Hall 7. The door closed behind him with a heavy sound. The room was dark. But he was not alone. 7 figures waited in the shadows, and none of them were friendly. The lights came on slowly. They were dim and red, casting long shadows across the training hall. Jinho stood in the center of the room and waited. His heart was beating fast, but his hands were steady. 7 figures stepped out of the darkness. They moved in perfect formation, spreading out to surround him. Jinho turned slowly, looking at each one. He recognized them. Everyone at the academy knew who they were. The first was Turek of House Velrani. He was the largest Velrani Jinho had ever seen, nearly 3.5 meters tall. His gray skin was covered in ritual scars that marked his many victories. He was called the Crusher because he had killed a Drakari beast with his bare hands when he was only 12 years old. His family had ruled the Velrani military for 600 years. The second was Lisa. She was Kethani, slim and deadly. Her skin shifted colors as she moved, making her hard to focus on. She was called the Swift because no one had ever seen her move at full speed and lived. Her 4 arms each held a different weapon. The third was Morduk. He was Mordai, with pale blue skin and cold black eyes. He was called the Wise because he could predict any opponent's moves before they made them. He had never lost a strategic game in his life. The fourth was Kenna. She was from a species called the Vrax. Her body was covered in black fur, and her mouth was full of sharp teeth. She was called the Fang because she preferred to kill with her bite. She smiled at Jinho, showing all her teeth. The fifth was Borith. He was another Velrani, almost as large as Tarek. His skin was covered in metal plates that had been surgically attached to his body. He was called the Shield because nothing could hurt him. The sixth was Vira. She was from a species Jinho did not recognize. She was small and thin, with gray skin and no eyes. She was called the Silent because she had never spoken a word. She killed without warning and without sound. The seventh was Dorn. He was Mordai like Morduk, but where Morduk was calm, Dorn was angry. His face twisted with hatred when he looked at Jinho. He was called the Merciless because he had once killed 30 prisoners after a battle, even though they had surrendered. The Elite Seven, the sons and daughters of the most powerful families in the galaxy. Each of them had been trained since birth to be perfect warriors. Each of them had killed before. Each of them believed humans were lesser beings. Tarek stepped forward. His voice was deep like thunder. "Do you know why you are here, human?" Jinho looked up at the giant. "I have some ideas. You have insulted us with your presence at this academy. You have insulted us by winning fights you should have lost. You have insulted us by existing." Tarek's red eyes burned with cold fire. "Tonight we will teach you your place." "And what place is that?" Jinho asked. "In the dirt, where your species belongs." The other six laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. Tarek began to walk in a circle around Jinho. The others moved with him, keeping their formation. This is called the Circle of Judgment. It is an ancient tradition. When a lesser species forgets its place, the elites remind them. We have done this many times. The Grothani learned their lesson. The Emery learned their lesson. Now humans will learn. Jinho knew about the Circle of Judgment. He had read about it in the Academy Library. It was technically illegal. The Galactic Council had banned it 200 years ago. But it still happened. The powerful families protected their children. No one was ever punished. "After tonight," Tarek continued, "you will leave this academy. You will return to your dirty little planet. You will tell your leaders that humans do not belong among the stars. And if you do not—" He smiled. "Wow, accidents happen during training. Everyone knows humans are fragile." Jinho listened to every word. He watched every movement. His mind was working fast, analyzing the 7 opponents around him. He measured distances. He noted weapons. He studied their stances. He was afraid. Only a fool would not be afraid. But fear was just another feeling. It could be used. It could be controlled. "Do you have anything to say, human?" Tarek asked. "Any last words before we begin?" Jinho took a slow breath. He thought about his grandmother back on Earth. She had told him stories about his great-grandfather, who had fought in a terrible war long ago. He had been surrounded by enemies in frozen mountains. He had been outnumbered and outgunned. Everyone had expected him to die. He did not die. He fought for 17 days in cold that could kill a man in minutes. He walked out of those mountains with frostbite on his hands and fire in his heart. "We are not people who quit," his grandmother had said. "We are people who endure." Jinho looked at Tarek. Then he looked at each of the Elite Seven in turn. They expected him to beg. They expected him to try to run. They expected him to act like the weak, frightened animal they believed him to be. They were wrong. "You should have brought more," Jinho said. Tarek laughed. "What did you say?" "7 is not enough. You should have brought more." The laughter stopped. Tarek's eyes narrowed. "You are either very brave or very stupid, human." "Maybe both," Jinho said. "But I know something you do not know." "And what is that?" Jinho smiled. It was a cold smile, a hard smile. The smile of a man who had already accepted what was coming and was no longer afraid. "You think this is a hunt. You think I am the prey, but you are wrong. He shifted his weight slightly, moving into a fighting stance his instructors had never taught him. It was an old stance, one that humans had used for thousands of years. I am not prey. I am something much worse. What are you then? Kenna growled, her fur rising. I am a human, and humans do not go down easy. For a long moment, no one moved. The red lights hummed overhead. The shadows seemed to grow darker. Then Jinho moved. He did not wait for them to attack. He did not try to defend. He exploded forward like a missile, straight at Dorn, who was directly behind him. It was the last thing any of them expected. His fist connected with Dorn's face before the Mordai could react. The sound of the impact echoed through the training hall. Dorn fell backward, his nose broken, blue blood spraying through the air. First blood belonged to the human Dot. The Elite Seven froze for half a second. It was only half a second. But in a fight, half a second was a lifetime. Jinho did not waste it. He spun and kicked Vera in the chest before she could move. The Silent One flew backward and crashed into the wall. He ducked under a swing from Barth's massive arm. He rolled between Lysa's 4 slashing blades. The training hall erupted into chaos. 7 elite warriors attacked from all directions. Any normal opponent would have been dead in seconds, but Jinho was not normal, and this fight was just beginning. Pain exploded through Jinho's body as Tarek's fist connected with his ribs. He felt something crack. It flew through the air and crashed into the ground, hard enough to leave a dent in the metal floor. Get up, his mind screamed. Get up or die, Dot. He got up. Lysa was already moving toward him, her 4 arms spinning her weapons in deadly patterns. Jinho threw himself to the side as her blades cut through the air where his neck had been. He grabbed a loose piece of metal from the floor and hurled it at her face. She blocked it easily, but it gave him time to move. Mordic watched from a distance, his black eyes calculating. He is faster than expected, the Mordai said calmly. But he cannot maintain this pace. His body will fail soon. Mordic was right. Jinho knew he was right. Human bodies were not built for this kind of fight. He was already breathing hard. His muscles burned. The broken ribs sent sharp pain through his chest with every movement. But Mordic was also wrong. He did not understand the thing about humans. Kenna attacked from the left, her claws reaching for his throat. Jinho ducked and punched her in the stomach. His fist felt like it hit stone. She barely moved. She laughed and swung again. Jinho caught her arm. She was much stronger than him. She could have pulled free easily. But Jinho did not let go. Instead, he pulled her toward him and drove his forehead into her face. Kenna screamed. Her nose was shattered. Blood ran down her black fur. She stumbled backward, shocked. No one had ever hurt her like that. He uses his head as a weapon, Mordic observed. Interesting. Boreth charged like a tank. His metal-covered body was impossible to damage. Jinho did not try to fight him directly. Instead, he ran straight at the giant, then dropped to the ground at the last second and slid between his legs. Boreth was too slow to turn. Jinho was already behind him, already moving. Vera appeared from nowhere. The Silent One had recovered from his earlier kick. Her small hands reached for his throat with terrible speed. Jinho caught her wrist. She was strong for her size, but he was stronger. He twisted her arm and threw her directly into Boreth's path. The giant tried to stop, but he was moving too fast. He crashed into Vera, and they both fell. 2 down. Temporarily. Lysa attacked again. This time she was serious. Her 4 arms moved so fast they were blurs. Jinho could not block. He could not dodge. He could only take the hits and try to survive. A blade cut across his chest. Another opened his arm. A third sliced his leg. Blood flew through the air. Jinho screamed, but he did not stop. He grabbed one of her arms and pulled her close. She was faster than him. She was more skilled than him. But at close range, speed meant less. He drove his knee into her stomach. He slammed his elbow into her throat. He bit her shoulder with all the strength of his jaw. Lysa had never fought anyone who used their teeth. She had never imagined such a thing. She screamed and pulled away, leaving a piece of her flesh in Jinho's mouth. He spat it out. Blood ran down his chin. He smiled. "You are insane," she gasped. "Maybe," Jinho said, "but I am still standing." Dawn came at him with murder in his eyes. The Morday's nose was still broken and crooked. He had never been hit before. He had never felt pain like this. He wanted the human to suffer. Dorn was smart. He was one of the best tactical minds in the academy. He could predict most opponents with perfect accuracy. But Jinho was not most opponents. Jinho was not following any pattern. He was not using any technique. He was fighting on pure instinct, pure rage, pure human stubbornness. When Dorn moved left, Jinho moved left. When Dorn prepared to block high, Jinho attacked low. When Dorn predicted a kick, Jinho used his head again. The second headbutt caught Dorn in the chest. Something cracked. Dorn fell to his knees, gasping for air. "Impossible," Mordek whispered. "His actions have no logic. There is no pattern to predict." That was the thing about humans. That was what the galaxy did not understand. Other species fought with training. They fought with technique. They fought with logic. But humans? Humans fought with something older, something deeper, something that could not be calculated or predicted. Humans fought with desperation, with madness, with the simple animal refusal to die. Tarek had seen enough. The giant Velrani charged at Jinho with his full strength. His fist was the size of Jinho's head. When it connected with Jinho's left arm, the bone shattered completely. Jinho felt his arm break. He felt the pieces grinding against each other. The pain was beyond anything he had ever experienced. A normal person would have passed out. A normal person would have begged for mercy. Jinho was not normal. He looked at his ruined arm. He looked at Tarek, and he laughed. "What is wrong with you?" Tarek demanded. His voice was not calm anymore. There was something new in it. Something that might have been fear. "Nothing is wrong with me," Jinho said through bloody teeth. "This is what humans are. This is what we do. We do not quit. We do not surrender. We keep fighting until our hearts stop beating." He attacked with his remaining arm. He kicked with his wounded leg. He used his broken body as a weapon, throwing himself at Tarek again and again. Tarek hit him. Tarek threw him across the room. Tarek broke more of his bones. Jin Ho kept getting up. Around them. The other members of the Elite Seven watched in growing horror. They had expected this to be easy. They had expected the human to fall quickly. Instead, they were witnessing something they could not understand. Kenna was still holding her shattered face. Lysa was pressing her hand against her bitten shoulder. Dorn was struggling to breathe. Vera was limping. Boreth was moving slowly. One human had done this. One fragile, primitive human. "End him," Mordek said. His voice was no longer calm. "End him now, Tarek, while we still can." Tarek grabbed Jinho by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Jinho hung in the air, his broken arm dangling, his blood dripping onto the floor. He should have been finished. He should have been begging. Instead, he looked Tarek in the eyes and smiled. "Is that all you have?" He whispered. Then he drove his thumb into Tarek's eye. The giant screamed and dropped him. Jinho hit the ground and rolled. He could barely move now. His vision was blurry. His whole body was screaming in pain, but he was still alive. and 5 of the Elite 7 were down, unable or unwilling to continue. Only Tarek remained standing. The giant was holding his wounded eye, blue blood running between his fingers. For the first time in his life, Tarek was afraid of something smaller than himself. Tarek removed his hand from his wounded eye. The eye was damaged but not destroyed. He could still see, though everything on that side was red and blurry. The pain was enormous, but pain was something Velrani would train to ignore. He looked at the human standing before him. No, not standing. Barely standing. The creature was broken in a dozen places. His left arm hung at a wrong angle. His chest was covered in cuts. His face was a mask of blood and bruises. He should have been dead many times over, but he was still upright, still breathing, still watching Tarek with those strange human eyes. "You have courage," Tarek admitted. "I did not expect that from your kind." Jinho said nothing. He was saving his energy. Every breath hurt. Every heartbeat sent waves of pain through his shattered body. But he could not show weakness. Not now. Not when it mattered most. "It changes nothing," Tarek continued. "You are still going to die here tonight. Your courage will be forgotten. Your species will remain in the dirt where it belongs." "Then stop talking," Jinho said. His voice was barely a whisper. "And kill me." Tarek roared and attacked. The giant moved with speed that should have been impossible for something so large. His massive fists swung through the air like hammers. Each blow could have shattered stone. Each strike could have ended the fight instantly. Jinho dodged. Somehow, impossibly, he dodged. His body was broken. His mind was foggy with pain. But somewhere deep inside him, something ancient woke up. Something that humans had carried in their blood for 1,000,000 years. The survival instinct. The refusal to die. Tarek swung left. Jinho ducked right. Tarek kicked low. Jinho jumped over it. Tarek grabbed for his throat. Jinho slipped away like water. "Hold still!" Tarek screamed in frustration. Jinho did not hold still. He kept moving, kept dodging, kept surviving. Every movement cost him. Every dodge made the pain worse. But he did not stop. He was waiting, watching, looking for an opening. Tarek was the strongest of the Elite 7. He was a killing machine built from birth to destroy. But he was also angry now. Angry and frustrated. And angry fighters made mistakes. The mistake came 43 seconds into the fight. Tarek overextended on a punch. He put too much weight forward, too much power into a blow that missed. For half a second, he was off balance. Jinho struck. He drove his heel into Tarek's knee with every bit of strength he had left. Human legs were not as strong as Velrani legs. But the knee was a weak point, even for giants. Something cracked. Tarek howled and dropped to one knee. They were almost the same height now. Jinho did not hesitate. He stepped forward and drove his good fist into Tarek's throat. Once, twice, 3 times. He hit the same spot again and again, crushing the windpipe with repeated impacts. Tarek tried to breathe. He could not. His throat was swelling, blocking the air. He swung wildly at Jinho, but his movements were desperate now. Uncontrolled. Jinho caught one of the giant's arms and twisted. He used Tarek's own weight against him. The giant fell forward onto his hands, gasping and choking. For a moment, Jinho stood over his fallen enemy. He could have killed him. It would have been easy. A few more strikes to the throat. A stomp to the back of the head. Tarek was helpless, but Jinho was not a murderer. He was a soldier. There was a difference. He stepped back and delivered one final kick to Tarek's temple. The giant's eyes rolled back. His body went limp. He was unconscious but alive. The training hall was silent. Jinho looked around at the destruction. 7 of the galaxy's finest warriors lay scattered across the floor. Some were unconscious. Some were groaning in pain. Some were simply staring at him with eyes full of fear and confusion. He had won. Somehow, impossibly, he had won. His legs gave out. He fell to his knees in a pool of his own blood. The adrenaline was fading now. The pain was becoming unbearable. His vision was going dark at the edges. But before he collapsed, there was one more thing he needed to do. He looked up at the ceiling. He knew there were cameras everywhere in the academy. He knew someone was watching. Someone was always watching. "I know you can see this," he said. His voice was weak but clear. "I know you are recording. So I want to send a message to everyone in the galaxy who thinks humans are weak. Everyone who thinks we do not belong among the stars." He paused to cough up blood. Then he continued. 7 of your elite warriors surrounded one human cadet. One. And only one person is walking away from this fight. He smiled through broken teeth. It is not going to be any of them. He pushed himself to his feet. It was the hardest thing he had ever done. Every part of his body screamed at him to stop. His bones ground against each other. His muscles burned like fire. But he stood. He turned toward the door. It seemed 1,000 kilometers away. He took one step, then another, then another. Each step left a bloody footprint on the metal floor behind him. The Elite 7 lay in defeat. The sons and daughters of the most powerful families in the galaxy, brought down by a single human. Jinho reached the door. He pressed his hand against the panel. It slid open. On the other side stood Lieutenant Han Yuna. Her face was pale with shock. Behind her were 2 medical officers with a hovering stretcher. "How?" she whispered. Jinho looked at her. He tried to speak, but no words came out. The darkness was closing in now, swallowing his vision. "Tell them," he managed to say. "Tell Earth." Then he fell. Yuna caught him before he hit the ground. She could feel how broken he was. She could feel the shattered bones, the torn muscles, the blood soaking through his uniform. "Medical team," she shouted. "Now, get him to the regeneration tank immediately." The medical officers rushed forward. They lifted Jinho onto the stretcher. Monitors beeped with urgent warnings. His vital signs were critical. He was dying, but he was smiling. As they rushed him through the corridors of the academy, aliens stopped and stared. Word had already begun to spread. The cameras had captured everything. Within hours, the entire galaxy would know what had happened in Training Hall 7. A human had faced the Elite 7 alone. A human had been outnumbered, outmatched, and outclassed in every possible way. And a human had won. In the training hall, Tarek slowly regained consciousness. His throat was swollen. His knee was ruined. His eye was damaged. But he was alive. Thorn limped over to him and helped him sit up. "What happened?" Tarek groaned. Thorn looked at him with haunted eyes. "We lost. One human," Tarek said. "Just one human." "Yes." Tarek was silent for a long moment. Then he said something that surprised everyone who heard it. "We were wrong about them. We were so wrong." In the medical bay, doctors worked desperately to save Jinho's life. They had never seen anyone survive damage like this. His body had been pushed far beyond its limits. But somehow, impossibly, his heart kept beating. The thing about humans, the doctors would later say, was that they simply refused to die when they should. It was not logical. It was not scientific. It was something else entirely, something that scared them. 3 weeks passed. Jinho floated in a tank filled with warm blue liquid. Machines hummed around him. Tubes connected to his body delivered nutrients and medicine. His broken bones were slowly healing. His torn flesh was mending itself. The doctors had called his survival a miracle. They had never seen a body take so much damage and refuse to die. His heart had stopped twice during the first night. Both times, it had started again on its own. Humans are strange creatures, one doctor told another. Their bodies are weak, but their will to live is stronger than any species I have ever seen. Outside the medical bay, the galaxy was in chaos. The recording from Training Hall 7 had spread across every network. Billions of beings had watched it. They had seen the Elite Seven surround the lone human. They had seen the human fight back. They had seen him break and bleed and refuse to fall. They had seen him win. The reactions were mixed. Some species were angry. How dare a lesser being defeat their finest warriors? Some were scared. If one human could do this, what could an army of humans do? And some, a growing number, were impressed. Earth's ambassador, Director Choi Soo-jin, stood before the Galactic Council. She was a small woman with gray hair and calm eyes. She had served Earth's government for 40 years. She had faced alien leaders who could crush her with one hand. She had never shown fear. Today, she did not show fear either. The council has called this hearing to discuss the incident involving Cadet Park Jin-ho, the council speaker announced. The events that occurred in Training Hall 7 have raised serious concerns. Yes, Soo-jin said. I imagine they have. 7 cadets from noble families were seriously injured. The Velrani representative has demanded that the human be expelled and punished. Soo-jin smiled. It was not a friendly smile. I have seen the recording, she said. I have also seen the Academy's rules regarding the Circle of Judgment. It is illegal, yes? The speaker shifted uncomfortably. That is a complicated matter. It seems simple to me. 7 cadets ambushed one cadet with the intent to harm him. They attacked him together. They planned to hurt him badly enough to force him to leave the academy. She paused. If anyone should be expelled and punished, it is them. The chamber erupted in shouts. Representatives from a dozen species demanded to speak. The Volrani ambassador rose to his full height, his red eyes burning with rage. You dare accuse our children of crimes? They were teaching the human his place. His place? Soo-jin's voice cut through the noise like a knife. Let me tell you about his place. She pressed a button on her console. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed Jin-ho standing alone in the training hall, surrounded by 7 enemies. Blood covered his body. His arm hung broken, but he was still standing. This is what you call weakness? Soo-jin asked. This is what you call a lesser species. You sent 7 of your best against one of our cadets. 7 warriors from the most powerful families in the galaxy. Warriors who have been trained since birth. She let the hologram play. The council watched as Jin-ho fought. They watched him take hit after hit. They watched him fall and rise again. They watched him refuse to stay down. Only one walked away from that fight, Soo-jin said quietly. And it was not any of your 7. The chamber was silent. You looked at humanity and saw weakness, Soo-jin continued. You saw short lifespans. You saw fragile bodies. You saw a species barely out of its cradle. But you failed to see what those short lives have taught us. She walked to the center of the chamber, looking up at the massive alien representatives who surrounded her. Every moment matters to us because we do not have many of them. We burn brighter because we know our flames will end. We do not have armored skin, so we learn to endure pain. We do not have ancient wisdom, so we learn to adapt faster than any species in the galaxy. She pointed at the frozen hologram of Jin-ho. That is what a human is. That is what we are made of. You can break our bodies, but you cannot break our will. You can knock us down, but we will always get back up. You can surround us, outnumber us, outmatch us in every way. And we will still find a way to win. The Volrani ambassador tried to speak, but Soo-jin cut him off. Earth demands full membership in the Galactic Alliance. Not as guests. not as observers, as equals. And if you refuse, she smiled again, and this time there was something dangerous in it. Well, now you know what humans can do. Perhaps you should think carefully about making enemies of us. The vote happened 1 hour later. Earth was granted full membership that it was not a gesture of friendship. It was not kindness. It was fear. The galaxy had finally understood what it meant to face a human. 2 years later, Jinho graduated from the Galactic Military Academy. He finished second in his class. He would have finished first, but the instructors found one small error in one of his exams. Everyone knew it was not really an error. Jinho did not care about rankings anymore. 3 of the Elite 7 had left the academy after the incident. They returned to their homeworlds and never spoke publicly about what had happened. 2 others transferred to distant postings on the edge of the galaxy. They wanted to be as far from Helix 9 as possible. But 2 of the 7 did something unexpected. Lysa and Mordic found Jinho on graduation day. They walked up to him in front of hundreds of witnesses. And they bowed. "We came to hurt you," Lysa said. "We came to break you. Instead, you taught us something we will never forget." "What is that?" Jinho asked. "Strength is not about size or speed or power," Mordic said. "Strength is about refusing to give up. We thought we knew what strength was. We were wrong." Jinho looked at them for a long moment. Then he extended his hand, palm up. A human gesture of peace. "I hope we never have to fight again," he said. "But if we do, I hope it is on the same side." Lysa took his hand. Her grip was gentle now. "I hope so too." 3 more years passed. Commander Park Jinho stood on the bridge of the warship Endurance. It was Earth's first interstellar combat vessel, built with human hands using human ideas. The crew was small but dedicated. They had all volunteered for this assignment. The Endurance was posted to the border territories, the dangerous regions where other species feared to patrol. Jinho had requested this posting himself. Someone needed to protect the shipping lanes. Someone needed to respond when distress calls came from these forgotten corners of space. Someone needed to show the galaxy that humans did not run from danger. His communications officer looked up from her console. "Commander, incoming transmission from Captain Han Yuna." Jinho felt a small smile cross his face. Yuna had been promoted twice since the incident. She now commanded her own vessel, a fast attack ship called the Resolve. They still talked often. Yuna's face appeared on the main screen. She looked tired but alert. "Jinho, the Mordai border is reporting unknown hostiles. 15 ships, unknown configuration. They have already destroyed 2 trading vessels. No one else will respond to the distress calls. Why not?" "Because everyone is afraid." Yuna paused. "Everyone except us." Jinho looked at his crew. They were young and untested. Most of them had never seen real combat. They should have been scared. They were not scared. They were ready. "Send me the coordinates," Jinho said. "The enemy outnumbers you. Their ships are larger. The smart thing to do would be to wait for reinforcements." Jinho nodded. "You are right. That would be the smart thing. But you are not going to wait, are you? There are people in danger, Yuna. Innocent traders who did nothing wrong. They called for help. We are going to answer." Yuna smiled. It was the same smile Jinho remembered from years ago, when she had found him broken and bloody outside Training Hall 7. "I always knew you were special," she said. "Give them hell, Commander." The transmission ended. Jinho turned to his crew. "You heard her. Set course for the Mordai border. Maximum speed. We have work to do." The Endurance's engines roared to life. The ship leaped forward into the darkness between stars. Behind them, the Galactic Military Academy grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared. But the legend of what had happened there would never disappear. It would spread across the galaxy, pass from species to species, world to world. The story of one human who had faced 7 elites and refused to die. The story of a species that burned bright in the darkness. The story of why humanity should never, ever be underestimated. The Endurance jumped to lightspeed, carrying its crew toward danger and glory. Only one had walked away that night in Training Hall 7. Now, that one was coming to save the galaxy.